Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Matchup Report, where we're finally talking some more NFL. And happy opening day to everybody too. For a few, big baseball fans. I'm not the biggest baseball fan, but Jay's got his Phillies cap on, and I know everyone in my family's bugging out today, having a good time watching the game. So
I also am not the biggest Phillies fan. I grew up like, and it's all I've known is the Phillies, but at the same time, I'm not a super big baseball fan. Of course, opening day, I had to wear a hat. I didn't want to wear the jersey, and I'll go to a couple games throughout the year. But I'm not like a big let's talk numbers and baseball stuff. Like I know enough to pass by.
it's kind of nice where it's one of those sports where like I get to be a casual, and I can just be like, all right, yeah, like I'll watch every once in a while. Like I know enough to like kind of talk
Yeah,
about it,
you hear the
but
big names and you're like, oh yeah, like that guy.
yeah.
But like other than that, like I could just watch and like be, I don't gotta like be super invested. Like everyone's like, oh my god, like Red October, and it's like, yeah, I'll buy into the hype. But like after that, like I don't really give a shit. Like
So that's where I'm a bad casual fan too, because I have like zero faith in the Phillies. So I'm just like, hey, hey, I was along for the ride. I'll go to the games and have a good time, have a couple beers.
it's a good fun summer thing to do.
Plus, I do because of my mom. I do support the Angels as well, and I live pretty close to their stadium now, so it is fun going to those games and seeing Mike Trout. But all right, I am ready to do this, man. We're talking some NFL free agency review. I'm kind of glad that we waited a few weeks to do this because if we had done it immediately, we would have missed out on a bunch of stuff and had to like retrack, especially because of some one big rescinded trade and then a couple other things that happened. But yeah, definitely excited to talk about this. So we're gonna go break it down. We both picked like four or five like moves that we thought were like we really wanted to talk about. Usually probably because we thought they were really good, whether it be players, teams, whatever it was. And then we'll just kind of go rapid fire after that and just talk about some other intriguing moves, winners, losers, possibly anything like that. Just whatever we want to talk. Sort similar to like how we do our shoot around with our basketball shows. So we'll get into that here now, basically. So let's get to it, man. I want to hear first. What was your first move you wanted to talk about?
All right, so more so like, and this is kind of summary of, I think this almost saved this team in my mind and kind of made them winners a little bit. And it's probably the most recent one, ironically. It's the Jalen Waddle trade that the Broncos made to get him. And I know like inevitably this is the big thing with me is that like, all right, like yes, it is a very good move from the standpoint of the Broncos and their needs, because they get a very clear option for a receiver to help Bo Nix out, who is what like when you're in the position the Broncos are, where you still have Bo Nix on a rookie contract, you want to take advantage of it, and I think the Broncos understand that, and they're like, all right, like how do we go all in? To show their support. So they were able to trade Jalen Waddle and a 2026 fourth round pick from the Dolphins in exchange for a first round pick this year, and a third and fourth round pick in this draft as well. So a couple of big picks within there, and I think that was the main thing where I was like, is it worth it from a Bronco standpoint? Like if obviously if you win, like you can look back and say like, hey, it was worth it. But I like this for both sides in the sense that the Dolphins are in a weird position where it's like they're not competing anytime soon, and they understand that. And it almost feels like, all right, yeah, like while Jalen Waddle was playing at the way he is, like let's get something for it. Let's get draft capital in return that we can use to bolster in the future. And then once again, from the Broncos standpoint, when you have Bo Nix on his rookie contract and you're still trying to maximize your window of competing, I think they did a good job of going out there and getting a weapon to support that and continue to push their offense to a better direction.
Yeah, from the Broncos standpoint, I agree with you. I love this move for them. I know my mom and my brother are extremely happy about it to finally get another receiver in there because he's a perfect complement to like Cortland Sutton, especially. Cortland Sutton's like the big X receiver. Like you're like okay, like
Yeah.
that's our Mike Evans, like prototypical kind of guy. And then you had Jalen Waddle in there who can do the speed stuff, but he's also very good in the middle of the field, doing the intermediate routes. Like he's so quick that he just opens up so much more now for this offense, which didn't lack like other speed options, but now you get like a more like this is probably the best route runner on that team now. So it's really good, and especially with Sean Payton, like he can scheme up a lot for a guy like that. So I think it's great for them. I agree with you, like maximizing the rookie contract while you can. And this was a team that like they were heavily reliant on their defense, but their fourth quarter would come or their offense would come alive a lot of times in the fourth quarter, and it was kind of I'm not gonna say fluky, but it was it's a rough way to live throughout the season where it's like
Yeah.
you're relying on that. But now that their defense, I don't expect their defense to like fall off. I still expect it to be a top five defense in the league. And then now if your offense can carry the load a little bit more, that puts less pressure on your defense. And I mean, think about this team. Like they were, it's not like they weren't that close to the Super Bowl. Like their defense also still kept them in that game that they lost with the Patriots. So I do think like this is a great move for them. And the type of move they should make. And then for the Dolphin side, my only thought with this was just like I feel so bad for Malik Willis because it's like the Dolphins signed him, which I was like that I didn't mind that, but then like to trade away his best weapon immediately when it's like okay, well like you're a rebuilding team and you traded away like the best receiving option for your new quarterback, and it's like it sucks because I don't want it to be Malik Willis's last chance. I was a big fan of his coming out of college, even when I got to see him at the Senior Bowl, and I was like, hey, he knew it was going to take some time, but like the traits were there, and it was cool to see him sort of like rebuild up with the Packers, and then now it's like, all right, he's in a crappy situation again. Hey, you never know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I did like it for both sides in a way though. Like for the organization of the Dolphins, there's nothing wrong with a rebuilding team gathering more assets.
Yeah, they are. I like with that being said, like from the Dolphins standpoint, they are kind of just throwing him to the wolves and saying, "All right, you have Tutu Atwell and Jalen Tolbert. Go have fun out there."
Yeah.
Maybe that's one of the picks that they attack because there are a couple of top receivers that I think could be good options. But at the same time, it feels like the Dolphins still just have so many needs. Obviously, with the Malik Willis addition, they I think they clearly head in a direction of like, all right, QB it probably isn't going to be in the cards this year in the draft, and especially considering next year's QB class is probably shaping up to be a lot better. I can see why they're like, hey, we have Malik Willis, let's go out there and get somebody who we can trust can almost be a bridge quarterback for the next year.
Yeah, and it feels like every draft class now too. Like there's more and more receivers coming out. Like it's always more talented receivers to get in the draft. So maybe they'll get something like that even in the mid rounds.
Yeah.
All right, I want to talk about my first one. So that I actually have the Patriots. It's funny enough. We were just so I have the Patriots. I love the specifically the signings of Romeo Doubs and Elijah Vera Tucker. I think you're just trying to. It's kind of like with the Bo Nix thing, right? You're trying to maximize more of Drake May, and then you lose Stephon Diggs, and then you bring in Romeo Doubs, a younger option who like with the Packers, like obviously it was very spread around between all the receivers that they have there. But I do feel like he was the most polished and like true. I shouldn't say true, but like just the most polished receiver that they had there when it came to route running and the way he was able to win at the point of contact, just everything he could do for that team when he was on the field. It was just he was really good. And so you bring a guy like that and on a contract that's obviously it's not it doesn't hurt their cap that much. So it's a good friendly deal for them to bring in what can be like a good wide receiver one for them with the other younger receivers that they have there, and then you add in extra protection for Drake May on the O line with a guy who like while he has had some injuries, he's still young, and when he is on the field, he is a very good guard. I mean, the Jets O line, like as much as we talk about how bad the Jets are, the O line was a bright spot. So I don't blame someone for going out and grabbing one of those guys. Especially, I'm sure the Jets are not happy about the guy going to their rival, but yeah, I love that for the Patriots. For a lot of, like we were talking about the Broncos, it's just like you got to maximize your rookie contract and protect your rookie quarterback or rookie quarterback contract quarterback. But yeah, so I love that for the Patriots.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the only one I mentioned that you didn't mention is Kevin Byard, adding him as well to the defense. He feels like he fits the Mike Vrabel system really well, and is exactly what they would want. Obviously, he's getting older, so that'd be the only thing you'd look at and say, well, maybe he declines a little bit. Even then, he's still like a very high upside player if he's able to maintain at least somewhat of what we saw from last season.
Yeah, and there's familiarity there with Vrabel from their time with the Titans together. So yeah, but I do agree with you. Like, I was on the fence with that move because I was like, yes, he was very protective with the Bears, but a lot of it was also like the Bears were like saying like just jump everything. Like he was getting a lot of tackles too. Like it wasn't like he was bad in run defense, but I'm not gonna say it was fluky, but it was definitely like like it was unexpected. So we'll see if at 33 he can maintain that with the Patriots.
And and I think this is my one thing with all this is that like it's going to be interesting to see how the Patriots as a whole handle the tougher schedule, especially now.
Yeah,
That was the one big thing where it's like everyone's like, oh well, of course you can go to the Super Bowl if you have a easy, straightforward path. But I think we'll see this year the true like kind of test of like the like how it looks. And so I'm interested to see what that'll look like.
Yeah. All right. What's your next one?
All right, my next one, because I also did have the Patriots as well. Ironically, the Raiders. I think they made a couple of really good moves, so I'm going to put them in my winners category. Especially like the linebackers, Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker. I think were both great additions for both like almost different reasons, and like almost like kind of complement, like really complement each other. And then also adding Tyler Linderbaum as like a nice option to protect, or who we're assuming is going to be Fernando Mendoza
It's
going.
gonna be even done.
Yeah. Like you still gotta so air caution if they get a Godfather offer and they're like, well, I mean, maybe we can, I don't know. Either way, all to say is that I think they're cooking something. I don't know, like I'm interested to see what this looks like, because obviously there's so much change when it comes to the Raiders, but I do feel like this offseason as a whole and the fact that they were able to attract these free agents, I think says a lot about just the direction that this team is heading in.
Yeah, I mean, the Raiders are always cooking something. It's just usually more something along the lines of like what you see in Breaking Bad. But I mean, we'll see what happens with this one. um, but no, I agree with you. Like first of all, yeah, the Linderbaum signing, like yeah, they paid a lot for him, but I think it's definitely worth it, especially because if you are bringing in that rookie quarterback, which we assume they are for the most part, then like with the rookie contract stuff, like I think that's perfectly fine, and he's the perfect fit for the system that Kubiak is bringing in. Like you need a center like this, and they just need improvements on the O line in general. So like across the board, like that signing is perfect for them when it comes to scheme, need, like all of that. And then the other signings, like you're right, like Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean, like former college teammates in Georgia who have that familiarity with each other. You bring them in to play with each other again, and it's hilarious that both of them got offers from the Cowboys and they both said no, and then go to the Raiders together. They're like, screw that. And Nakobe Dean's like, yeah, I hate the Cowboys. So Shay, shout out to Kobe, Eagle for life. Yeah, so happy for the both of them, and they didn't pay too much. Like they didn't like pay like top dollar to get both of them either. So I thought that was good. And then I like the flyer on Jalen Naylor. Like while he was like the third guy with the Vikings, like he showed like he could have like potential to be more than just like that like third option. So I think that's cool for them to bring him in and be like, look, like they're not spending too much money on receivers, and part of that is the Max Crosby stuff, which we'll get to, is like that kind of messes up their cap a bit. Um, but like I don't mind taking a flyer on a potential receiver like that.
Yeah, I'm also excited to see how Taron Johnson fits in. They added him as well. It just feels like like the Raiders are heading in a once again a positive direction with even if they are kind of going a bit more aggressive and throwing out contract money, or they were. Honestly, not their fault in this scenario. Knowing the Crosby stuff, which
Yeah,
yes,
let's get into the Crosby stuff
yeah.
because
Okay,
yeah, you break it down.
okay. So this all starts back towards the even before we finished the regular season, and this starts with the is Max Crosby injured stuff, and I think that was the big kind of thing with this, where it's like the Raiders were like we're gonna shut him down, and then he posted a clip of him. Yeah, and to be fair, he had battled some injury issues this past season, but they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna shut him down, and then he posted the clip where he was like fully practicing and was like, oh, like does this look like somebody who's like needs to be shut down, or like someone who's hurt? And everyone was like, all right, like there's clearly tension. We've known for the past couple of seasons, just how this thing has kind of shaken out and how like it's been very like I don't want to say like chaotic, but like almost like to some degree, we've known that there's been issues going on, and I
Yeah,
think like it's from both sides. It's been like almost like petty, to be like, oh well, like Max Crosby's like, I'm not hurt, like I'm ready to play, like I want to get a full chance, but also being like if you know Las Vegas isn't the place, like that's okay, um, and so in come the Ravens. They agreed to a deal with Max Crosby. Um, he does like, and this was a whole day of like, all right, like he's Lamar Jackson. Let's start off with a Lamar Jackson tweet, and then we knew something was coming. Max Crosby gets there. A day goes by, and then it's like the Max Crosby trade is rescinded. He
yeah,
does. Even leading up to this, he was doing all the oh yeah, like I'm excited. Thank you Las Vegas. Like all the posts and everything. It gets rescinded, and it was first, and it still was technically labeled as medical concerns is the reason that the Ravens decided to back out of this, because the Raiders posted on their like on their half, then we're like, oh, like it's been rescinded. This is due to an error on the or on part of the Ravens wanting this because of medical concerns. With this being said, the Ravens very clearly knew about the medical issues and would have done their medical stuff going into this, and knowing how healthy Max Crosby was before agreeing to this trade. It definitely feels like they got cold feet and needed a reason to get out of this, and it was like, all right, like think of something. Oh, he's hurt. Well, we were kind of at the angle. It was like, well, like we could still always go with it. There's no other way. Like we can rescind this, and that's where we get to now where Max Crosby decided. Well, I think initially it was like, oh well, what's another option? And he actually was like, actually, never mind. I'm here. I'm gonna stay. And I'm gonna play. Which I was like, hey, like credit to him, like for one being cool about it. And I think it says a lot that like it wasn't entirely toxic before he left, because then it would have been a hell of a lot, worse if he was to shit on him after he left.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, well, I'm back. To be fair, there wasn't enough time to really like, do a podcast and he says something crazy or anything. But all to say, he's like, I'll stay with the Raiders. Thankfully, because the Cowboys were already calling, trying to pull him away the moment the trade got nixed. But it, and look, maybe and this is the perspective, is that maybe the Ravens were like, hey, they brought in extra doctors, and genuinely they thought it was a lot more serious. But you add in the fact of the Trey Hendrickson stuff, and the fact that he was in the building at the same time that this was going on makes it really shady. And that's where I look at this and say, like, I feel like the Ravens very clearly knew what they were doing with this, and there wasn't any intention of like, oh well, like, oh no, he genuinely hurt. It's like oh no, like we had this option that like, hey, we don't have to spend a first round pick, and it's just money, which I think at the end of the day does play a big role in this as well.
Yeah, especially because the Ravens this was like the first time they had really traded first round picks like that to get a player. So it was all a whole new thing for them. But yeah, it's still, to me, it seems shitty on the Ravens' part. Like to me, especially because like when Crosby talked about like how the whole thing went down from like his experience with it, where it was like he was like, they were acting weird towards me. They put me in a hotel where there was a dead guy outside. Like it was like this whole like weird thing where I was like, why fly him out at that point? If this is like, if you were going to be treating him like that anyways, like why even have him come in the building? Like, it was like a whole weird thing just to like go through this like physical where it's like, oh wow, we don't like what we're saying. Everyone had that information prior. Like it wasn't just like the Ravens, like everyone across the league who was interested in Max Crosby like had the medical stuff there. And by all accounts, like most of the reports we've seen are saying like, yeah, he's on track, he's good to go. There have been others where they're like, oh, well, he's not exactly where you want to be. But like, this is Max Crosby. Even if he's going to be missing like a quarter of your season, he is one of the most productive DNs in the league. While Trey Hendrickson might have more sacks over the past 4 years, he's not as a complete DN as Max Crosby is, who can play both the run and the pass. And honestly, like with the situation that he's been with the Raiders his entire career so far, the amount of production he's had is honestly like a fucking miracle at times. So yeah, it's very weird on the Ravens part, especially when like, yeah, you bring in Trey Hendrickson after, and it's like, I can understand you don't want to give up all those assets, and okay, you bring in a productive pass rusher for money instead. But at the same time, it was just weird to back out last second like that. And I think it's a bad look for them going forward, where it's, I'm not saying teams are going to deal with them, but it's definitely something that like people have on their minds, and maybe even other players too.
I mean, like when you think about it this way, like, and yes, like we joke about Nakobe Dean, being like a diehard Eagles person, like saying like fuck the Cowboys, but when you look at how situations have occurred, where it's like you see the Micah Parsons stuff with Jerry Jones, you see the CeeDee Lamb stuff, you see Brandon Aubrey now, like you see all these type of stuffs, and the fact that like the Cowboys and Jerry Jones in particular having competence when it comes to re-signing players and getting deals done. Like you look at something like that and it's like, why would I want to be there? And then you consider all the additional stuff of, oh well, like the Cowboys and just like the amount of pressure it is. Like all these type of things I think factor into when you're making these decisions of where am I going to spend the next couple of years of my career. Like these things all sorry, the girl living in the background. I noticed that.
I was like,
working in a studio. All this to say is that it is very weird. And then when you think about the play styles in particular too, like the fact that like, and you mentioned it, like I think Max Crosby is a much more complete, like not just an edge rusher, but a defensive end where he can bring you both the run defense and of course the pass defense. Where I think Trey Hendrickson, you're gonna get sacks, which is I think what you're wanting if you're Jesse Minter. But at the same time, what about the run support? And especially when you think about a Ravens team that was like completely hurt last season. Like if something is like remotely even close to that, you lose a couple injuries. You lose somebody like Kyle Hamilton for a little bit, like who dictates so much of your defense. It's going to be difficult to replicate that. And then all you're going to have to show for it is someone who can just pass rush. So I like obviously we're looking very far ahead with this and like throwing out scenarios, but at the same time it feels like just shady business from the Ravens end of this. And from the Raiders' perspective, I think one, it screws them over for money purposes because they fully planned their free agency around the idea that Max Crosby isn't returning, so they don't have to deal with
They
this.
were probably planning their draft run, having some of those picks too.
Yes. Which is, and look, it was like a day. But when teams get that, they take a jump on this. They have to send scouts. They start to evaluate things and everything, and like their whole draft process changes. So for the fact that like that's like all happen in a day's span is just very insane. But from the Raiders' perspective, still at the end of the day, like you get Max Crosby back, and it's in a positive way where there isn't any lingering toxicity. It's a new coaching staff, so you can just say, hey, almost a fresh start, kind of like you're still a foundational piece. And now he has a lot more help. He has a lot, especially on the defensive end, where you consider all the pieces that he added. It is a very obviously and clearly a much better team than last year. So all in all, it just feels like just positives on the Raiders side, where it's like. I don't want to say they can all just laugh about it, but like they can like objectively look at this and say, "Hey, that was crazy. Let's go win and push this team into a better direction."
Yeah, and we had talked a lot before this trade even happened, where it's like, should the Raiders do this? And we were kind of on the side of like, yeah, because if you are going to go full rebuild like this with like the rookie quarterback and everything like that, it would help you to have the cap space and the assets to help that full rebuild. And Max Crosby is kind of like he's so good. It's kind of like the Myles Garrett thing, where it's like you have this such like a great player on like a losing team that's like just not on the timeline to contend right now. It sucks, but I mean he legitimately loves the Raiders. I mean he's got the tattoo. He's saying like Raiders for life. Like he was very sad about having to leave, even though there was like a weird breakup there. But like he genuinely seems to love the Raiders. So it's like, all right, screw it. Like if this is just how it's going to end up, like this is the end result, then I think both sides will end up being happy. The Ravens come out looking worse, but I think both sides end up being happy. And then with the Trey Henderson one more thing, like I'm not trying to like shit on him as like because like he is a very good pass rusher. Like I mean the sacks speak for themselves. But like in a Jesse Minter system where we saw with the Chargers, like his edge rushers there were also good run defenders. I mean think about Tui and Khalil Mack and guys like that. Like they were able to stop the run as well as get after the quarterback. With a guy like Trey Hendrickson, I don't know if you can have him down like out there for every down when you're going against a team, especially if there's like a run heavy team you're going against. So are you paying a guy that much just to be in there for pass rush situations? So I don't know the scheme fit and how, but I mean at the same time, I think you can trust Jesse Minter because he is such a good defensive like coordinator and defensive coach. You can trust him to figure this out. But yeah, I'm curious to see how that goes for them. All right, what is the? Is it my turn?
I'll go. So another one that I really another winner I think I like, and it's weird. The 49ers, and I say it's weird.
Okay, so I had them as like a question mark.
Okay, I say win from the perspective of the pieces that you added will win you games.
Mm-hmm.
But the one question mark I have is if they are healthy, because all right, Mike Evans, Osa Digisowa, Dre Greenlaw, Christian Kirk, Nate Hobbs. I don't know. I'm like, okay, Mike Evans, great pickup. Instantly makes your receiver room better, which is something that you really struggled with this past season. You know what else you struggle with? Injuries in your receiving room. You know who you just signed? Someone who had an amazing career, but is coming off one of not probably his most injured year, and now you're signing him. Dre Greenlaw, very nice return for you, and you're able to get him into a system that he's familiar with, who has also struggled with injuries in his career a lot. And I'm like, okay, like I see one side of it, and then I'm like, the 49ers, training medical staff, like what are they doing at the same time? Because we constantly hear about every year it's massive injuries. And yes, they still are able to somehow sneak their way, not sneak their way to the playoffs, but like, or limp their way into the playoffs, I should
Yeah.
say. But they get there. And so there's two sides of this where it's like, I really like the moves that they made, but I don't know how healthy we're going to see this team and these players that they've added come week 13 where where they're in the middle of an NFC race.
Yeah, and it's like you don't know when what George Kittle's going to be back as well. So like you're already dealing with injuries coming back. We don't know what the Trent Williams situation is if he's even going to be playing for them. He had been injured this last year as well. I mean, everyone on that team that was good was injured. It felt like this last year, but it's like yeah, it's one of those things where like on paper you're like okay yeah, like these are good signings. These are players that can help you win now, which I think the 49ers are way more concerned about winning like now than they are like these aren't like future like also Digizua like I do like that one probably on like weirdly the most just because you finally get some interior D line help that can really help out guys like Nick Bosa and now your second year player in Williams off the edges. So I do like that one a lot. Christian Kirk, I think Shanahan will definitely know how to use. But again, like you're right, these are all guys who have like crazy injury histories kind of. So it's a little iffy, but like I said, like I can understand why you would make these signings, especially in a division as tough as theirs, with the Seahawks, the reigning champs, and the Rams who are right there. Yeah, I mean you're going to need all the help you can get. And all these players instantly come in, and most of them, if not all of them, are going to come in and start right away. Yeah, that's why I had them as a question mark. It was like, yeah, like the names are nice, and it's not that they're bad players. It's just, yeah, with it's matching injured players with the most injured team that like always has bad injuries. It's just like it's like I don't know. It just gives you a weird feeling. You're like, ugh, it's like it's iffy.
That's why I say like I'm still gonna say winners because they are very quality pieces when they are on the
Yes,
football field. But I'm gonna say winners question mark, and it'll be a to be determined.
I like it. All right, I'm going next. I have the Jets. I really like what the Jets have been doing. While I don't think they're going to be going out and winning a lot of games this year, I like a lot of the players they have. And what I like about it is it's a lot of defense, which they 100% needed. And I think this is a lot of this is like Aaron Glenn being like, look, if you can just give me the players I need on defense, I can show you that we can have a good functioning defense. Because they added guys like some of these are through trades for signings, but like they get Devondre Sweat, who I talked about before when he was with the Titans as like a young D tackle. I'm a huge fan of his. Like I think he can be like a good replacement for what they lost last year. You had Demario Davis, who even at like 37 years old is still like a very good linebacker. He's at least a solid starter for your team. And then, I mean, there's more like Nashawn Wright and Minka Fitzpatrick. You're adding to your DB room with that. Nashawn Wright had 5 interceptions last year with the Bears. And while I think he is more of like a fit for a zone kind of scheme, and Aaron Glenn likes to run man a lot, I do still think he'll be a good like if he can continue to get ball turnover, then like who cares? And then Dane Belton, guys like that. So I mean, they signed a lot of people, and a lot of it was 1 year deals. So it's kind of where I'm like, some of these players are probably like on prove it, so then maybe you can resign them after. And this has so many so much draft capital going forward in the next couple of drafts that for me it is more of like, all right, let's just be competent. Let's see what we can get out of these 1 year deals. Who do we want to keep moving forward? And then for Aaron Glenn, it's probably also just like a prove it year for him, where it's like, hey, all right, we got you some good players. Let's prove it that you can make this work. But like, I do like the players that they got. All right, what's next?
I'm staying in the AFC. I'm going with the Steelers. I think they had a really
Hmm.
solid just free agency. Added Michael Pittman Jr., signed Rico Dotto as well. And Jaquan Brisker, I really think is going to be great for their defense. The one question I still have is the quarterback situation,
Yeah,
where I'm like, all right, yeah, this is really cool. I like this. Who's going to be throwing the ball to Michael Pittman next year? And I think
I
the
think we
fact that,
know, but yeah.
yeah, but like, it's just,
But should it be?
yeah, I,
See, that's where I was like, because I looked at the Steelers too. I'm like, yeah, okay, Michael Pittman, a great receiver, and you put him next to DK Metcalf, awesome. Rico Dowdle, 1,000 yard runner that you can put out there now, be consistent with your younger running back that you have. And it's like, okay, I like these. Like you said, Jaquan Brisker, great, like especially for like the DBs that you have there. Jaquan Brisker opens up a lot of like that helps out Jalen Ramsey a lot, right, in the back end. But then you're like, okay, but then I'm looking at the head coach and who the quarterback is most likely going to be, but we also just don't know. And I'm like, that's where like I like the defensive coordinator. Like Patrick Graham is awesome. Like he is a great defensive coordinator. We've seen him make good defenses out of crap. So the fact that he's there is like a good sign with like what I think that defense will actually be better than it has been in recent years. But yeah, it's the offensive side and the coaching on that side and who we don't know who's throwing the ball where it's like okay, yeah, these are nice pieces, but like is it gonna matter? Like, are we trusting them to make this like matter enough? I don't know.
That's just my biggest issue with this is that I'm like, all right, like great acquisitions. Will it matter if you somehow, I guess, like Aaron Rodgers isn't listed anywhere in this like the use the ESPN starter or the quarterback room. So it's like we can sit here and speculate and say that we think it'll be another year of A Rod, and it's difficult to say solely because I think a decision like this should have been made. We should have known by now. It just it feels weird, and obviously this was the case last year. I guess he's once again thinking over it in a dark room somewhere. But all this to say, I think as well the one thing I would say is that your parts of your defense are continuing to age, and I'm wondering what are they doing replacement wise, and I think like that's a question that I have, and obviously like it's not like entirely the worst right now, but like T.J. Watt's only getting older. Cameron Hayward, I like that man is like thriving still at the age he
Like
is, but
him and Calais Campbell need to be, and at this point, Demario Davis, like they need to be studied. Like,
at some point you have to think like, hey, it's going to be time to hang it up for him. Like, what do you like? And I think like that's my question is like, what do they do when they lose some of their like key players that have been there for years and years? Where it's like, oh, you can just say, oh, hey, like we don't got to worry about the middle of our defense because, or at least the defensive line, because Cam Hayward's there. So I think that's just kind of questions that I have still with the Steelers.
yeah, we'll see. We will. The Steelers are always an interesting team to watch. I'm gonna miss Mike Tomlin though. I'll tell you that. Mike Tomlin was one of my favorite coaches in the NFL, and I'm really gonna miss him and
Just
his lines.
totally for me, it's the perspective of like his press conferences. Like the "we don't care" meme is like is insane.
Actually, because I thought about Tomlin when we were talking about the Ravens and Raiders thing, because he had that line where he's like, "We don't want hostages." And like for a bit, that's what it felt like with Crosby, where it was like, "Is he gonna be a hostage here?" But then he's like, "No, I do want to." I don't know if maybe it's like what do they call it when you like start to fall in love with your captor?
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, I was like, maybe it's Stockholm syndrome, but like hey, he seems to want to be there, so he's not a hostage right now. All right, my next team I want to talk about is and I feel like we're both playing chicken on like who's gonna bring up the Eagles first, but we're gonna keep pushing. So all right, so I'm gonna talk about the Carolina Panthers. I loved what they were doing, man. All right, so first of all, you bring in a couple of good old linemen that like a one of them doesn't even need to start, but can be starter in spots. And with the injury that they had to Icky at the in the playoff game, where it's like you don't know when he's going to come back, they add Rasheed Walker now, former tackle of the Packers, who kind of unceremoniously left that team. But like he has shown before that he can be like a solid starter for you as a tackle. So you bring him in to be a spot starter and for depth and whatever else. But then you also had Luke Fortner for your center position after you lost your both of your starting centers because one was starting, got injured, and Cade Mays came in and became a good starter for you, but you lost both of them. But you had Luke Fortner on a good deal, and that helps out. You're cool. You're adding more protection for Bryce Young, which you definitely need because you've seen that when he has a clean pocket, he can be an effective quarterback. But then on the defensive side, I love this. Finally, we're getting this great defensive coordinator some better pieces. I've always feel so bad for him, man. He's such a good coordinator. And then but all right, so you get Jalen Phillips. The deal was crazy. Like it was a lot of money. I don't know if I agree with like the deal itself, but the player, I love that for them. Like we've seen what Jalen Phillips can do as a pass rusher, as a run defender, all that, very effective. And then probably my favorite one, a guy I talked about a lot last year, was Devin Lloyd, one of my favorite linebackers in the league, coming over from the Jaguars. Kind of surprised the Jaguars didn't try to keep him, or maybe they did. I don't know, but yeah, Devin Lloyd, a highly productive linebacker that can lead that defense for them. He can do a lot in pass coverage. We saw him get a lot of picks over the course of the season, and then he's also an effective downhill like run stuffing linebacker as well. So I think it wasn't like a whole lot that they did, but like the players they brought in are all like effective starters for them that will be like valuable for them as the season goes on.
Yeah, I agree. But it's difficult to overlook that that Jalen Phillips contract. And look, I
Yeah.
don't blame him from an Eagles perspective. When we were talking about this, it was like, oh, like the Eagles were still like trying to bring him back. Um, but if that money's on the table, I don't who am I to sit there and be like, oh yeah, come back for a lesser deal.
Yeah.
That's life changing money. So it's one situation where you had to be like, hey, credit to the Panthers for knowing what they want, putting their balls on the table, and being like, hey, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Like it's right there. But speaking of the Eagles, let's get it out now because I'm past my winners and I'm more so like in the territory of like either like I think you kind of were a loser or like you just didn't really do enough. And I think the Eagles are in a weird territory. I would say, ironically, neither one of those positions. I think they did exactly what they needed to do, which was almost kind of like I don't want to say stop the bleeding, but like maintain. And I think the biggest thing that I think I saw improvement wise was the cap space. That was a big thing where it's like, especially when you consider some of the massive contracts that are going to potentially be coming up. You have like a Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Jalen Carter, like these things. Like
Jesus. Yeah.
when you think about these things, it makes sense from a like a Howie Roseman perspective why we're not seeing like the big deals. And I think that was I think naturally when you live in a city like Philadelphia, the biggest thing I have issue with is that I'm tired of hearing people be like, how come the Eagles aren't making big splashes? How come they aren't doing this? How come they aren't doing this? This person was available. Like the first couple of days of free agency went by, and the Eagles were one team that just didn't make any moves. And I was like, you know what? I like that. I think the team is solid the way that they are, and when you have to consider all of their holes, it's not just going to be solved with one free agency. You can't just go out and throw money at everything, and they don't have the money to be throwing around when you consider the fact that they have so many players that they're going to have to pay in the future. But also like the pieces that they did add, Reek Woolen, I think could be a solid option as another a DB. Um, yes, I think the one biggest gripe would be the discipline issue. And I think that's been the one thing where it's like people are like, well, like how many yards like total, what was it total like penalty
But
yards did we
yeah.
see Quinyon Mitchell and Reek Woolen. Like that's been the joke going around. But everyone else like re-signing Dallas Goedert for another year. Um, the one thing I'll say like yes, I think all the moves they made, Reek Woolen, even adding like someone like Temple. I don't say Temple legend. He's not a legend, but Temple, a former Temple alum, Arnold Ebitike, Hollywood Brown. Even like I think they added where they could without blowing the bank. And then the one thing I'll say like I just am still a little confused about is just the safety position.
Yeah.
With them trading away Sidney Brown, I was like, oh, like okay, well, one Reed Blankenship leaving to the Texans, I was like, I get it. I don't think he was good enough to be honest. And I think a lot of people were like, oh my goodness, like Reed, like what are they gonna do? And I was like, well, like, when you think about it, like there generally could be better options. And for what they would have had to probably pay him, it probably just wasn't worth it. But I think that the emotional attachment, as the exciting white and all that, it was like why people were a bit more attached to him. With that being said, after the Sidney Brown trade, I was like, all right, what are they cooking? Because it's one and look, they can get creative and especially like maybe they find someone they really like in the draft and that's where they feel confident. I still I don't know. They brought back Marcus Epps and I was like that's serviceable but like very very like defined serviceable. Like you can trot him out there and in a Vic Fangio system where it's like nothing behind you, I guess that could work, but there's I don't know, and that's the one thing where it's like I'm gonna sit back, be patient, and let it see how it unfolds. But I'm just keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, I mean, starting with the safety thing, I mean, first of all, shout out my cousin Reed Blankenship. It was one of the things I'm kind of with you where a lot of people like, look, he was a solid starter who was also always available. Like he was rarely injured, which you always have to appreciate with a DB like that. Now, is he some like all star who is gonna be like we're gonna miss him for like because like he made crazy plays for us? Yeah, he had some good like game-ending interceptions throughout his career, but like it was he's not like a Pro Bowler, you know what I'm saying? So it's like it would have been nice to keep him, but for that kind of money, it's like cool. Go have fun with the Texans. I'm sure you're going to thrive there because that defense is just a lot of fun. So I'm sure he'll be good there. But I mean, you have Makuba who looked better and better as his rookie year went on. Marcus Epps, like I said, he's like serviceable. And what we know with Howie, man, like it's not like his offseason ends like after the first couple weeks of free agency. Like think about like the first time they won the Super Bowl, they signed like Garrett Blunt like in the middle of the summer, right? And how important he was. They're always making moves like that. The AJ Brown thing is still in the air, and I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more. But um, I do like what the Eagles have done. For Reek Woolen, like yeah, the penalty stuff, but like to have him as like your second corner opposite of Quinyon Mitchell, I think that's great, and especially on like a 1 year contract like this in a Vic Fangio system. I think that's awesome, especially like that helps out Cooper DeJean a lot. And I do love the jokes of like how this is like a crash out secondary. Like they're gonna be talking crazy shit to everybody, and I'm gonna love that. Like I love DBs like this. So
But that's what you want from an Eagles fan.
exactly, yeah,
That's exactly what you need.
they're gonna have an attitude.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, I love that. Arnold Ebiketie, like I think that's a great flyer. And I love the receiver depth, like Elijah Moore and Hollywood Brown, like two guys who can do a lot for you in different reasons. Like they both have a lot of speed, but one could do more underneath stuff, or like more like you can even hand it off to Elijah Moore a lot. And then you have Hollywood Brown, who we know can be a good field stretcher. And whether or not AJ Brown's gonna be here or not, like I still think like adding your depth like this just makes the team better. Dallas Goedert, look, this is I feel like I'm going crazy sometimes when I talk about Dallas Goedert because I've been so critical of him, especially these last couple of seasons, where it's like I fully I like he is a very good tight end. Don't get me wrong, he's one of the better tight ends in the league. He's a great pass catcher. He's a good route runner. He does a great job, especially in zone, like sifting through the traffic and getting himself open and available for the quarterback. He's a very good tight end from that perspective. But his weakness is blocking. He is a terrible blocking tight end, which is insane to say for a guy who played at South Dakota. I'm like, why is a South Dakota tight end so bad at blocking? But he's just not, and that's what we saw that happen last year, where it was like it was him and Calcaterra out there, and it was like, dude, none of these guys can block, and then so they would try to sign other guys, but then those guys get injured, and then now it's like it messes up your offense when you're having to bring out like the extra old linemen to try and do that, and then it just messes up your scheme when it's like, okay, we need a tight end who can block, but then they can't, so then we're having to switch people out personnel wise. It just doesn't make the plays work as well. It was extremely frustrating, and it's like, yeah, I'm a big Dallas Goedert fan, but he sucks at that part of his game. So I like bringing him back, but why it's okay and why I'm a big fan of that signing is because they also brought in Johnny Mundt, who is a very good blocking tight end who can fill that role. Hopefully he stays healthy because I don't want this all to be contingent on this one backup tight end to being so that important in a run scheme. But we'll see what happens. So that was fine. I didn't mind that. And then yeah, okay, let's get the AJ Brown stuff out of the way. I don't know if they're going to trade him or not. I really don't. Like, and obviously the especially after the Waddle trade, the price is going to be extremely high for AJ Brown, and it's getting to a point where I'm like, they're not going to do it till June so that they can save money on the cap and everything like that if it does happen. I don't know why you would trade him. And then this is like kind of going back to the Mike Tomlin thing. It's like, is he a hostage or is he not? Like, does he want to be there? And that's that. The only reason you trade him in my mind is if he straight up is saying like, I don't want to be here. And the annoying thing about the Eagles is, and it can be a good and a bad thing, is we just don't have a solid answer on this. Like, there seems to be new reporting every week on like, oh yeah, him and Jalen Hurts hate each other. And the next week it's like, no, it's all being overblown. Like everything's fine. Like, he loves the new coordinator, and him and Jalen are like commenting on each other's Instagram and defending each other again. It's like, I don't know what the hell is going on with all that, and it's actually like extremely annoying, especially when like paid professionals are on TV going like, well, we're only talking about it this much because there's nothing else to talk about. Okay, there's a million other things to talk about. If that's your excuse, then this is bullshit. But like, it's just all become very annoying. I would never want to trade AJ Brown. That's to me that's stupid. Like he's one of the best receivers in the league. Yes, you also have Devontae Smith, but if you the current wide receiver room with AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and the other guys that you've signed is really damn good. And this is a team that can still go out there and compete for a Super Bowl. So I don't know why you would give up one of your best offensive players.
I see that side of it, and I'm going to take the opposite. I think they should get a deal done. And look, and it's weird because I think our positions would usually be swaps. I feel like I'm the calmer one on this, but I look. And maybe it's because I live in Philly, and I'm tired of hearing
Oh, okay.
every day of AJ Brown. It's something new. It's something new. Oh, he's done this on a podcast. He's on the podcast with Julian Edelman, and he's like, oh, like you're gonna be a Patriot, like making jokes and everything. And he's not denying it. And look, I think when you consider a team like the Patriots, who we talked about earlier, who are in this mindset of, all right, you have Drake May on a rookie deal, you're trying to capitalize on these type of things, and you need a strong number one receiver, because like, and yes, Romeo Dobbs, great option. I think he's much more of a wide receiver too, where you can move him around and have him in versatile different positions. And I think AJ Brown is a very dominant X receiver that you can put out there and be the ball dominant figure that he is. I am also very fed up of the constant just back and forth of does he want to be here or does he not. And I think the return that you could get for him, and yes, Howie Roseman's going to be very particular, and the Jalen Waddle stuff definitely helps because Jalen Waddle's only a year younger than AJ Brown, and AJ Brown's numbers are a lot better. I think you look at something like that and say, hey, it's going to need a really good offer to get past him. I think when you see a team like the Patriots who were right there in the Super Bowl, but clearly lacking in a position like receiver where they didn't. Well, like I say lacking, but I'm blanking on his name. Doesn't wear shoes.
Matt Collins.
Yeah, Matt Collins had a great Super Bowl game. But with that said, that's probably a one-off. Like you're not going to get Matt Collins isn't going to go out there and beat AJ Brown for you every game.
Yeah, and that was more fluky than anything. It was
Yeah,
like the game was kind of over when he got most of his numbers.
yeah. Okay, with that being said, though, I think just having someone like that, and it doesn't even have to be Drake May. It could hell be any other rookie in the league, like rookie or quarterback on a rookie deal. I think there are a lot of teams who will look at that and say, hey, maybe we think we're right there. Like how do we push it a step further? And AJ Brown instantly can do something like that. So I think it makes sense to trade him, but only in the case that you are getting the return that you feel is good.
I look, you're. I always love getting more assets, trades, whatever it is, like picks, whatever it is. But I just he's too good. Like he's just simply too good for a team that's trying to compete right now. Like I don't need more assets. I need more players that can help me win right now. Unless you're getting back some like all star safety and then like something else from him. Like I don't know.
But like when you look at like, or even does it help with the potential idea of like, say like, it's not realistic, but like the first like something that came to mind
Through
is like,
Howie
oh,
Roseman, all things are realistic.
well, okay, yeah, you mentioned that, right? Like if you're getting another young but like almost like has struggled to like capture the momentum that we think he could have had just yet, like Marvin Harrison, for example, hasn't been the Marvin Harrison that you like we would have all expected coming out of Ohio State. Brian Thomas Jr. has struggled this past season. If these offers are getting thrown on, it's maybe you throw in a first round pick with it. I think that's a deal where it's like, hey, you're getting another young receiver. You have Devontae Smith, who can be, who already is established. He's one of the best receivers in the league. Pairing him with another young receiver that like almost needs a second chance somewhere could be a good option, especially if you're especially if you're trying to get past the diva nature of AJ Brown. Why not?
Yeah, I just there's too many what ifs, right? Like I already have a proven commodity in my building, and I don't need a lot of like I don't need what ifs for a contending team. I think that's just where I'm at with it. Just the timeline doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I'm very fed up of the AJ Brown noise. By the
Trust me,
way,
I get that. I'm always fed up with Philly media, so
I
like I get that.
but I think like when you look at something like this and you look at like even before the Super Bowl and how long this has been going on and everything, like it just makes sense. It's like, all right, like if you think you're being held hostage, who are the Eagles to sit there and continue to hold you hostage? Like, all right, like cool, like you want to be somewhere else, just say that. Like
That's where I'm at. That's what the that I'm with you on that. The annoying part is the back and forth and like the will they
yes.
won't they bullshit. It's just like, do you want to be here or not? And can we get a solid answer on that? And we're not going to know until the beginning of the season, which is typical Philly. But, all right, let's move on from that before we both continue to get upset with Philly. Okay. Oh no, hold on. It's my turn. Okay, I'm gonna no, because I just want to go through like I had some more like quicker small ones to go through. The Saints actually I think made a couple of good like sneaky like additions for them. I love Travis. Okay, wait, hold it. Achan, Achan, is that how you say his name? You're supposed to say his name now.
Yes, I believe it is.
So we have
It,
two Achans, but they spelled it differently.
yes, yes, it, yes.
The English language is awesome. All right, and then you have they also added David Edwards, who I think is a really good guard to add to that room for them, and more protection for what is going to be your second year starter in Tyler Shuck. So I thought those were two good moves for them to add with their young rebuilding team. Because dude, the Saints are still in cap hell. We talked about for years about how it was like they kept kicking that can down the road of like eventually you're gonna have to like pay up this like cap space stuff. Like you're gonna be screwed, and they're still dealing with that now. Now next year they're gonna be like top five when it comes to cap space. But so this year it wasn't like they were going to be able to do that much when it came to free agency. But the few moves they did make, like you're like, okay, like these are good. These are moves that are good for like the direction that you're going. And then
Yeah, I'm looking at cap space right now, and it looks like they're going to be. Oh, actually, ironically, the Eagles will have better cap space than next year, right?
Shadow
They'll be
Howie,
like closer to the top half. Definitely a lot better.
yeah. All right, and then a couple other ones because there's one big, not a big one, but like an important one I think to talk about. It Kenneth Walker go to the Chiefs. I thought that was a great signing for them. Like we've been talking about them needing a running back for years now. They have the least amount of explosive runs out of any team in the NFL. And for a team with Patrick Mahomes, who we'll see when he comes back. I mean, they're trying to say that he might come back and start for them right away. But they also got in Justin Fields, so he could be like a spot starter for them in the meantime. But yeah, just adding a running back like that to an offense that desperately needed a better running element to help out your superstar quarterback, like that, I think that was a fantastic signing by them.
I agree, but then the Chiefs pissed me off because they re-signed Travis Kelsey.
Dude.
And that's the one thing where I was like, all right, like I love the Kenneth Walker move. I'm not even mad at the Justin Fields move either because you know his floor and you know what you're going to get for the couple games that you're trying to get Mahomes back. You can they Justin Fields can be used as like a gadget player sometimes because of speed. Love that. How does the Travis Kelsey timeline thing fit into to just the Chiefs? And that's where my big question is. It's like I feel the Chiefs have been heading in the right direction of like, all right, they fully committed to what they were going to be last year after they realized Mahomes is out for the season. All right, let's commit to being this team that can maybe even tank a little bit, get a better draft pick, and they did a good job at that. And then I was like, all right, like great moves, great moves. I like what you're doing. You're going to get a nice high pick that you can attack any position you want. They are trying to just like I don't want to say rebuild, but almost like a soft reset of like still you still have Patrick Mahomes, you still have all your a couple of your key players, but there's a lot of like that needs to change, and I think especially their receivers, their difference makers, like those are the type of
Yeah.
things where it's like they had to upgrade that. And look, they still can attack that at the draft. Like there's going to be we mentioned a lot of great receiver options, and then even a couple of great tight end options if they wanted to potentially like go
They
that
have
route
to get a tight end. They have
and
to.
yeah, and have somebody develop. Because the things I'm hearing about Kenyon Sadiq like are crazy. I don't know if he goes that high, but we never know with what happens. All is to say, everything was good until I saw that 3 year Travis Kelsey deal, where I was like, 3 years?
54 mil too.
It doesn't fit the timeline. It's a lot of money for a player that you've seen hasn't been the level that he's been his entire career. And I think also my girlfriend pointed out the fact that it doesn't fit Taylor Swift's timeline either, and that she wanted him to retire. So I guess that's a part of this as well. All to say is that it just feels like it felt like tons of steps forward, and then they threw a I don't say a big contract, but a lot of money for someone who isn't going to be as productive as he previously was.
Can't believe we're like you brought up Taylor. I was just thinking about this is gonna sound weird at first. I was just thinking about Taylor Swift last night when I was at work because I was listening. I
Me
like
very
there's
cautiously.
well because I was cleaning up some stuff at work and I had like an AirPod in. Well, don't tell my boss, but I had an AirPod in and I was listening to some music and Mariah Carey came on with her song "Shake It Off," and I was like, man. Taylor Swift really doesn't have the best song called "Shake It Off." I was like, she's at like maybe the second best one. I was like, because I would rather listen to the Mariah Carey one. So, anyways, I don't know why that was like I had to bring that up real quick. Not the shade Taylor Swift, not like I care. Yeah, it just the Chiefs are in a weird spot, man. I agree. The whole receiver thing, I'm like nobody, like nobody, like you resigned like Thornton and like that's it. like maybe they're just going to go in the draft heavy with that, but because I'm starting to feel, well, I don't know if I feel bad for Mahomes, but like it's it gets to a point where it's like, yo, like help him out a little bit. Like you can't just be saying like, yeah, even Brady every once in a while when his receiver core was down, they were still able to find like an Edelman to step up or a Gronkowski as like that superior tight end. Travis Kelsey is not Gronkowski at this part of his career, and they don't have an Edelman on this team, so it's just like it's going to be tough for him. As good as he is, it's going to be a lot tougher for him, especially coming back from injury when he doesn't have that like true threat as a receiver.
Yeah, and like we said, they had number 9 pick in the draft. Maybe they if they throw a tight end there, I think it's probably best to wait till later and then go receiver first. Carnell Tate's right there if they really like him. So I think it just makes the most sense. But it's like you're still and also this is all the offensive side of this. Your defense is still getting older, and I think there's a lot of options that you need to almost upgrade or even like just have replacements set in place, and it's not just going to come solutions in the draft. So there's a lot more issues than I think the team is willing to admit. But it like I said, does feel like a soft reset for the Chiefs where they're just finding the direction of like, all right, like this season is going to be kind of middling, but then the next season you're able to like, hit things and hit the ground running and be back to the Chiefs dynasty.
Yeah. All right. What do we want to talk about next?
I'm gonna go with the okay, and yeah, the Chargers. I need to get this off my chest because look,
Because they didn't do anything.
yes, according to over the cap, they have the third most cap space in the NFL this upcoming season. And we saw the way Justin Herbert was getting jumped all last season. One of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league. And yes, I know the big part of that is that you lose two of your tackles, Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt, both out for a season with season-ending injuries. With that being said, you didn't think at all that like depth would have been somewhat of a like something to address come the look. We keep referring back to the draft. I don't think you're going to find a lot of like you can find suitable I think replacement options, but not like high upside options where you can almost like you know plug and play if something happens. But that is like that's just my one thing where it's like one you didn't do anything, and two the things that you could have addressed you just refused to address, and it's only like and look maybe you're just like hoping and praying that you don't have any injuries, but it feels like for a team that like just had the worst luck when it came to injuries and losing two of your best tackles, and you have this quarterback, and you're going full in on this like your offense and just being this the solid team that can like especially having McDaniel there now like you're going like all in on like giving Justin Herbert as much help to develop into the quarterback that you think he could be, and taking that like finally that next step to not be called if man. Like everything was heading that the right direction, and then it's like, all right, you didn't bring any depth to help him out if anything were to happen, or maybe even a high upside substitution. And maybe they could have, attacked things and looked at a player like Tyler Linderbaum, and that's why the Raiders, paid so much money. But I just don't know.
Yeah, to have that much money when you already have a quarterback signed to that amount of money, it feels like such a luxury, and then to waste it just feels like a waste to not go out there like free agency, man. Like maybe you're not going out there and getting like a lot for your future, but you can fill a lot of holes for the next like 2 or 3 years by getting some of these free agent signings, and that can help you out like right now, and then you go to the draft and that's where you develop. So yeah, I would have liked to see them get, especially the number one thing should have been more protection for Herbert. And yeah, you bring in Cole Strange, but it's he's not some like great guard. Like he'll probably start for them, but he's not going to be like anything crazy. Like I don't know. And part of me is also feels like Mike McDaniel's is going to have his work cut out for him. But if there is somebody who can scheme around like a subpar O line, which look, if they get both those tackles back, like those are two of the best tackles in the league, so they'll have those on the bookend. It's just can they stay healthy? And then their interior is like okay, like what I'm saying. But where it's like that's where Justin Herbert's going to get killed again. I did like dude the Keaton Mitchell signing could be a really sneaky good one for them. Like you get a speed back like that from Mike McDaniel. On top of like having Omari and Hampton, like that backfield could be a lot of fun to watch with McDaniel's running everything now. So it's like, okay, they made some like a couple sneaky signings, but you're right. Like to have that much cap space with a franchise quarterback that you've already paid is such a luxury. And so to not go out there and spend the money to help him out some more, it just seems weird. Like I don't know, you know how to explain it. It's like we expected more, and you just like, I don't know, like I got crumbs. Like I don't know. You gotta give me something here, man. It's like there was an article I read too where someone pointed out they're like it's not like they even have like a big contract extension coming up that they need to worry about. Like, there's no reason to save money. There is absolutely no reason to save money. You have this much money to spend. There's no one coming up where they're like, oh man, we got to worry about that Lad McConkey contract. Like, yeah, he's really good, but he's not going to break the bank, right? Like, there was no reason not to spend money. So, I don't know, but hey, we'll see. I think honestly that their best offseason acquisition will end up being just Mike McDaniels. He's just so good. All right, let's move on. I want to actually talk about a quarterback that got signed. That was Kyler Murray. I absolutely love this. I absolutely love this. Like pairing him up with a good coach who is known to be like a quarterback whisperer, who we've seen work well with Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold. Right? You bring him in. It's funny that they're like, oh, it's competition for JJ McCarthy too. I'm sure that they're saying that they somewhat believe it, but in the back of everyone's minds, it's like this is Kyler Murray's job to lose. He should be the starter for this year, like unless barring any injury, which both of those guys have injury histories now. But I like this. Like he's going into his best situation that he's ever been in. He's going to have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison out to throw to, a good O line, a defense that can back them up. While the defense has lost some players, won't be maybe as good as they were in previous years. We know what Brian Flores can do. Like they're going to scheme up a good defense that'll be like top 10 most likely in the league. So to bring in Kyler Murray to then run your offense, where it's like we've seen him be on a level before where he would like be slightly be in MVP conversations. And like when he's fully healthy, like he is legit. He has a crazy arm. He's highly athletic, and he can do some crazy stuff out there for you. And I want to see him work in a scheme and a system with a coach who knows how to use him properly. Like, this could be a lot of fun. Like there's still always been a part of me that's like holding out hope for Kyler Murray. So now that he's out of the hell that is Arizona, I like his chances here with the Vikings. Like I do think this could be like if this Kyler Murray signing hits for them, this could be a team that could compete. Like I'm fully serious. Like if you have a top 10 defense and an offense with a competent quarterback where you have Justin Jefferson as your number one guy and a decent O line, like I think this team could be set up pretty well.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, and especially the fact that like, well, I'm short, so I got to support my short
Short
kings.
Kings, yeah.
But at the same time, I think when you consider all of the noise surrounding nine last season, it was just throw the ball to your top targets, throw the ball to Justin Jefferson, throw the ball to Jordan Addison, and just try to match or like just score a couple touchdowns. That's all you needed, especially when the Vikings defense is playing great under Brian Flores. That's all you needed, was a couple of big plays, find your difference makers, and it just wasn't happening. So I'm right there with you where I think like people are looking at it as like competition for JJ McCarthy, and maybe and I think they will naturally take it a very serious quarterback competition and evaluate things, and maybe it does push JJ McCarthy to the next level. But I do agree with you in the sense that I think it's Kyler Murray's job to lose, where he's going in, and I think you're looking at him and saying, this is a former number one overall pick. Yes, I know you spent a first round pick on JJ McCarthy, and a high one at that, but even then, that was like a questionable decision, especially considering what you saw from him at Michigan. I don't think it was anything worth like a first round pick.
He had good propaganda.
Yes. All that to be said is that they understand them. Like I don't say a mistake, but they understand the predicament that they put themselves in, and adding Kyler Murray one brings a very like what you're getting, and the floor. And if it pushes JJ McCarthy to be better and he steps into that starting role, perfect. And if Kyler Murray is that guy for you, even better. I think it's a win-win situation for the Vikings.
Yeah, I agree. That was just a move where I was like, it could be in one of those moves where we're talking about in November, being like, holy crap, like this really catapulted the team finally to where they've been trying to get to since they lost Kirk Cousins. Yeah. All right.
Crazy to say.
I have one more move to talk about. What about you?
Yeah, I like 1.5.
Okay.
And actually, I'll knock them out together because they're both two teams that both hired coaches this past offseason, the Giants and the Titans, that I'm kind of just like about. The Giants didn't have a lot of cap space, so they're like John Harbaugh inherited a team that really couldn't do much, and then the couple players that he did steal from the Ravens, like an Isaiah Likely, I think are solid additions. But I still just kind of look at the Giants and say like, all right, like what like obviously there's a lot depending on health, and that's the big thing is where it's like how healthy is Malik Neighbors going to be, Cam Scadaboo, but I think like losing a player like and losing a player like Wanda Robinson to the Titans, I think is go like I just want to see like what that looks like, and I'm more so like intrigued to see how the Giants will attack. Like if there's any team, I want to see how they attack the draft, because I feel like they're a weird team where it's like their defense and especially their defensive line phenomenal. And every year it's only going to get better. Where you have an Abdul Carter that's developing, Kayvon Thibodeau is still there, Dexter Lawrence is still there. Great. What does the rest of the team and especially the offense look like? Because I think their offensive line, especially Andrew Thomas, is in his own. Like what are we going to see from the offense and even the secondary of their defense? Like there, it feels like there's like a couple of big holes, which I feel like if they're able to attack just the right way, like they could go in a more positive direction. So that's what I'm interested to see how Harbaugh especially will fit into that and his style into the Giants, just team. And then on the Titans aspect of this, basically the same thing I said about Harbaugh, same thing I feel about Saleh. The one thing I'll say is that I feel like the Titans, like understanding that, oh, we have a lot of cap space, it felt like they went with players and probably overpaid them a bit. Like a player like Wandale Robinson, I look at and say like, yes, it's a nice pickup. It doesn't really move the needle, especially for like a Cam Ward. You're trying to like give weapons, and yeah, I do think you're like he had a very solid season, especially when you consider all the quarterback chaos of Russell Wilson, Jackson Darden, and Jameis the Legend Winston. Like a lot to go through quarterback wise, and still put up solid numbers. But even a player like Jermaine Johnson, where I was like, yes, great pickup from the Jets, I think they overpaid a little bit. So that was the
Yeah.
one thing where I was like, I look at the Titans and say like, good pickups, but they feel like very much like great. You overpay them, and I don't think you're gonna get the level of production that you think. But if they hit, it'll be good. But they just need to hit.
Yeah, I agree. I do like the Titans additions. Like you're right. Like the way they went and got them, maybe you're like, but like the names are like, and the fits are really good. A lot of them have like familiarity with Salah. With like John Franklin Myers, I think is an awesome pickup for that. Like you lose Sweat after you traded him, but you bring in an experienced D tackle to go alongside Simmons, who knows Robert Salah and his system. So I think that'll be a great for them. And then Jermaine Johnson is a good edge rusher. Like I do think that will work out for them. So their defense did get better. And then I love Alontae Taylor. He's one of my favorite DBs. Like he breaks up passes like I think he's top 5 since he's been in the league on pass breakups. So like very good signing for them. Like I'm always a fan of DBs like that. So and then yeah, the Wandale Robinson thing. It's like okay, like yeah, he's back with Dayball, a guy he's familiar with, and he can be a good slot guy. But their receiver core is like Ridley, Io Manor, and Wandell are like your main three now, I guess. And they lost Chico Quanco, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And then yeah, for the Giants, I did like adding Tremaine Edmonds. I think that was good. The receiver room's weird. Like the receiver room seems brittle in a way. And then Isaiah Likely following Harbaugh is kind of funny. Where it's like I'm sure the Ravens are like, dude, what the hell? Like, like stop taking these dudes. But yeah, yeah, both of those teams where I was like, there were some signings where I was like, okay, but like, I'm not like sitting there thinking like, okay, like they're ready to take the next step. It just felt like, eh. All right, and then I got one more to talk about, and that was the Rams, and specifically them fixing their DB room, adding Trent McDuffie, which like that was like the one thing we talked about with the Rams like most of our last year is like your offense is great. Like we know that. Your defense, your D line specifically, and your linebackers actually even too, like pretty damn good. But their DBs were getting bullied by people and just kind of like ran through at times where especially once they went up against bigger receivers. But they had two Chiefs corners with Jalen and then Trent McDuffie. So it's like I like that they're like the Rams were always good about being like, okay, what's our weakness? Let's go attack it. And this was a perfect way to do that. Like they're not afraid to like spend or use those picks to get players like that proven commodities, which is I think what you should be doing in this stage of the offseason. So I thought adding Trent McDuffie, who hopefully they keep in that slot role, but who I do think they could almost use like as like that like Jalen Ramsey ish kind of like star player in the middle, like as a DB. Like he has versatility like that where you can put him on the outside or the inside as a DB, and he can be highly effective in both roles. I think he's better in the middle than he is on the outside, but yeah, I love that the Rams are just like, okay, let's address this. Let's make this a position of strength now. And I mean, they're clearly like this is probably Matthew Stafford's last year. Like they weren't even sure if he was going to come back this year until he made that like public announcement. So the fact that I think this is like an all-in year, like this shows like that they're making the right moves to make that happen. Now, the only thing they have to worry about now is making sure that their star receiver stays on the field because he's not and he's just being a fucking idiot out there right now. But yeah,
Yeah, I think this is very clearly, and there's no doubt about it. It's an all in like situation here with the trade. It's like we are fully committing to what we are, which is a competing team. And you were right there in the sense that like they knew what they needed, and especially and look, Emmanuel Forbes had I think a much better second half of the season, especially they're just getting more comfortable and getting more confident. With that being said, it very much clearly is a big upgrade. So I'm really excited to see like how that fits in because they're fully going all in where it's like it's the fuck the picks situation.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
why do we need them if we have Matthew Stafford, we have Devontae Adams, we have
Now was the time to go all in.
yes, and they understand that, and it's like we have a very small window, which is probably just another year for Matthew Stafford. And you're like, let's go all in. Let's show that we're fully committed to it.
Plus,
Which
they had the extra first round pick to use anyways.
yes, yes, because of the Falcons, right? That's them.
Yeah, because of the
Yeah.
Falcons,
Oh my goodness.
who's yeah. That pick swap is going to go down in history as like a crazy one because of who the Falcons got in return for it, who's now no longer in the league. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Either way,
poor Falcons fans. Poor
yeah, they
Falcons.
they they had an opportunity. They went all in, and they are fully committed to winning. And I don't see why they wouldn't. And yes, obviously a very long season. And the Puka Nakua stuff, like it's very dumb and it is insane because it is solely like just and look okay. The one thing we didn't mention, there's a couple things we didn't mention, but the most recent big thing that happened is JSN just got paid,
Yeah,
highest NFL receiver of all time, and rightfully so, especially after the season he just had. And I know Puka Nakua was, like people were rubbing their hands together, saying we are right there with the money. And then it comes out that he yelled an unprovoked anti-Semitic statement and then bit a girl on her shoulder.
I like the wording of unprovoked, as if there's ever a reason to make like a comment like
Yeah.
that, like even if you're provoked, it's just like, well, it was unprovoked, but if he had been provoked, it would have been fine.
All this to say, it's insane. Like, just why? It's
Why is that is the only question.
and I know that was the immediate question of like his people like being like you just saw the way JSN got paid, and all you had to do was just not fuck up your money. All you had to do
He's fucking the money up.
all you had to do is not fuck up your money. Literally, like a couple of days later, and probably was the next day. It was this news comes out, and it's like, oh, like really, like, and so now I think it, and this is my question, and then like spinning it back to like away from the off the field stuff. It's just what do the Rams like contract wise like do in a situation like this where it's like and yes it solely is like a don't do dumb shit like and I doubt they can put that clause in there. There's all the jokes about Kyler Murray having the the Call
But
of
there's
Duty
definitely like you can be like, hey, if you get in trouble with the law,
yes.
like if you keep getting these civil lawsuits filed against you, yeah, we're gonna void your guaranteed money.
But it just at the same time where it's like he's putting up 100-yard games for you like it's like you can I don't say you can't look past this by any means, but I do think they get into territory where it's like you definitely start to like be very specific about contract talks, and the money is going to be really interesting to see how they handle a situation like this because when he's on the field and when he's productive, he's playing at the level where you can say he's right there with JSN. Now, what are you going to get off the field, especially the past year? Because it's been crazy because it's like,
It's multiple times.
Yes, multiple times, but before this, there was nothing. Like it nothing crazy, and then it was like all of a sudden, it's like he just flipped the switch and it's been a complete jackass. So I just
Why are you hanging out with kick streamers? Like as a professional, you're in a professional NFL locker room with Matthew Stafford and Devontae Adams, who are like, hey, and your coach is Sean McVay. You have a chance to win a Super Bowl, and you're out there hanging out with idiots like that and putting yourself in the worst positions. And maybe he's just getting too caught up in the LA lifestyle thing because it's like even there's been some other weird shit that's happened with his brother as well. It's just like I don't know, man. Like the celebrity is just getting to him, I think. And I'm surprised that like I'm not saying this hasn't happened, but like how have Devontae Adams and Matthew Stafford not locked him in a room and just like be like, dude, like lock the fuck in. Like you're a professional. Like we are some of the most professional players in our positions. We need you to lock in because you're our best offensive weapon. So it's like get it together, man. And I'm curious with the Rams. You're right, like the contract talks, but it's also like last year in December when this was happening with like the first stuff that was going on. It was like, oh well, we'll handle this like internally. Like we're talking to him. He's a good kid. Like we'll counsel him. What do you say now? Because clearly whatever you did with him didn't work, and the message didn't get through. So now I
so
think it's almost like the league is probably gonna have to step in here and do something. He's probably gonna get suspended.
yeah, they have to because he's fucking up their money now. Like and
Yeah,
look, and the NFL don't play about their money. You can fuck up yours all you want. You can't mess with theirs.
don't touch Roger Goodell's
Um,
pocketbook. Don't
but
do it.
okay, so it doesn't help that. So like reading the article about this, Puka's attorney came out and said that in a statement he says multiple sober witnesses have stated unequivocally that Puka never made comments about the girl and called it a blatant lie. And then described Puka biting the girl's shoulder as horseplay, which like to me, I think that's what makes this worse. Is that like, all right, like yes, it was very clearly a dumb thing, and yes, I know like it be difficult to come out and like you have to defend him. You have to like
You
try
don't
your
have
best.
to.
Well, yes, but like as an attorney, you have to you legally you're signed to like be with this guy. With that being said, there felt like a very clear. It felt like there was a very clear angle to take this in and be like, it was like whatever it is, just apologize. You can say he was intoxicated. It's whatever. And I feel like going with the term horseplay, I think is the worst
Wild.
option that you could have gone here because at what point do you say yeah like that's like I my little cousin is 9 years old, just turned 9. I don't think if I don't think if I asked her, hey Noah, can if I bite on your shoulder, like that'd be fun.
And
Like
break skin.
yeah, like it was a very clear like bite mark. So all to say is that it was dumb. There was no other way to say it, and it's going to be interesting to see how the NFL now takes control of this.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what they do. Yeah, especially when you're a repeat offender like this, it's bad. And if I'm the Rams, if I even see him on anything live, like stream, IG, like whatever it is, I'm losing my shit. Like I am banning you from anything that's happening live unless it's through an NFL camera at this point, bro. Because like he can't be trusted to be just a smart citizen, like not even just a footballer, just a smart citizen. Like, dude, like why are you biting people? It's just completely stupid. It's just so disappointing too because it's like you're so good. Like you could be making the most money out of any receiver. You could be the one that resets the market. And now, yeah, you're right. The money thing is just like how can you fully commit to it?
Yeah.
Like I don't think like at this point I'm saying like the talent is there, but can you trust him to even be on the field at this point? Between the injuries that he's had were already one thing, but you could look past that. But if he's also not going to be on the field because of dumb off the field stuff, then yeah, I'm not going to be investing as much in you. He'll still get paid. Don't get me wrong. Like he is still going to make a lot of money. It's just like he'll be down like a couple like dozen $1 million that he could have had.
And it's and from the Rangers side, it's very clearly you keep fucking up the money. Like you're doing it to yourself, and they can't sit there and justify that. And
There's
they
no
have
one to blame but him.
every reason to say that. Um, I will add the them being a team interested in AJ Brown, like I and look, I was like Howie takes a lot of charity cases. He's not touching this one. If they were somehow if that was a part of the deal,
Howie
which I
would be the public opinion on him in Philly would flip real quick if he traded AJ Brown to the Rams.
and that's why like look, there's a lot of options. The Chiefs don't have an option. That's like dealing with the devil. Like that's an easy way to very clearly put yourself in bad
I'll tell you what,
territory.
the Titans want to give us that top five pick. Maybe we can start a conversation.
I actually like the Panthers. Like, just hear me out. You know, like as a team where it's like, hey, like you got a high pick, you have a young receiver that you've almost kind of given up on, and Xavier Leggett. Like,
Ooh.
kind of, it would be interesting, potentially to take that route, give him a new change of scenery. You're getting a high pick in return. I just think it's a good option, but I'm not a GM, so
Yeah. Well, neither of us are yet, but we'll get there one day. All
yeah.
right.
Yeah, because we're taking over both for you for Seattle and me for the Las Vegas Outlaws. You know.
The Outlaws. Yeah. I can't wait for the yeah, and I'm actually excited for the WNBA expansion draft here next week too. I'm excited to see what happens there. I can't wait for Philly to have a WNBA team, man. I really can't.
2030,
Yeah,
2030.
it sucks that we gotta wait that long, but yeah, I'm curious to see because I kept thinking not to go on a WNBA tangent here, but like for years now I've been trying to be like, oh, like I need to pick a WNBA team because for the most part I'll just like follow players. Like I'm kind of like
Yeah.
a bronze sexual with the NBA. I'm like, oh, I'll just follow a team or a player here, or whatever. Um, yeah, so now I'm like, all right, well, I know I have a team to root for. I just gotta wait 4 years before I can root for them. But yeah,
I've been like a like a semi Liberty fan just because of Diane Richardson and the fact that she's
I
John
can't I
Bordello.
can't support a New York team. I don't care
That's
who
fair.
I know
I'll
over
give you
there.
that. It's more so like I don't have any merch, don't have any jerseys, which makes me feel good now that they announced the Philadelphia team, so I can wait and like hold off on
Spending
merch.
money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'll slightly support Portland since they got the new team this year. It's like okay, cool. They could be like I kind of follow them team for the next 4 years, and then once we get to Philly, it's like okay, I'm all in. And my dream scenario is that Don Staley is the first ever coach for the Philly WNBA team. That would make me. I would be. Oh my god, I'd be so happy. It would be so. It was just like one of those. It would be one of those things where it's like they say like baseball's romantic. I'd be like, oh, dude, that'd be so sick. Like a full circle moment.
Fully ready for that.
Yeah, that's just me like fan casting though. All right. Well, anyways, do we have any other teams or players that we didn't talk about? Good. Whatever we didn't cover, by the way, we will be doing obviously a lot of more off-season NFL videos. We'll be talking about things that happen after the draft, and then we'll do a full off-season breakdown as we prepare for the next season as well. So if there's any players or teams that we didn't cover, don't worry. Like we will get to them at some point during the off-season. It's a long off-season, so we'll get to those eventually. But we just wanted to highlight some of the things that we really found intriguing so far for this episode.
Yeah. Sorry for all you people who are expecting us to break down Isaiah Pacheco and to the Lions.
Uh, Whatever.
It was fun, it's cool.
Jameer Gibbs is about to take off. That's all I know. Okay. Well, unless there's anything else you want to talk about, I think that's it for us. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. I'm glad we finally got to talk some NFL again. This was more fun than I was expecting. Like I didn't realize how much I missed it until we started talking about it. So, love the NFL. Always fun to talk about. And of course, we'll have NBA content coming to you every week still. I can't, dude. I was talking about this. I feel bad as a coworker at my new job because no one talks sports, and I have to like force people to like I'm like why? How are there nobody that like I can like talk sports with? Like it kills me. But I'm like the playoffs are right there. It's like a tick, dude. I'm like I have to talk about this. Like the playoffs are right there. But yeah, I can't wait. But all right, thank you everybody for listening and watching. We appreciate any and all interactions we get with people who watch our videos or listen to it. Please continue to subscribe. We're going to keep making our videos either way. So really appreciate that from everybody, and any feedback you can give us, we'll always appreciate it as well. But we'll be back again next week with more NBA content, and we'll see you then.